Hey guys, so this is the Celest Wyvern Black, a pair of dynamic driver in-ear monitors that is very popular amongst beginner audiophiles and casual music listeners. But the same aspects that make it so appealing to this community could also be a deal breaker for more advanced listeners and could also be a big turn-off in certain aspects. So let me break those down, sit back, relax, watch this episode, and then decide if the Celest Wyvern Black is the one for you. So it comes in this tiny packaging, very unassuming, nothing too fancy. Sliding off the cover, inside we get some paperwork, a few pairs of different size silicone ear tips, the oxygen-free copper cable that has 2-pin connectors on one end and it ends in a 3.5mm stereo jack. And of course you get the in-ear monitors themselves. Alright, so in terms of the key specs, the Celest Wyvern Abyss houses a single 10mm driver in each of these in-ear monitors and it has an impedance of 32 ohms. Once again, these would be categorized as low impedance in-ear monitors, but because of the poor quality of the DAC that we have in our smartphones nowadays, what ends up happening is that either you get low volume or the bass isn't deep enough and you get an overall poor audio quality. So to mitigate that, it is always a great idea to invest in a portable DAC. Nothing too fancy or expensive, just something that can make sure that your in-ear monitors are powered to their full potential without leaving any volume or audio quality in the tank, and what you get is just the best sound possible. And as always, the one that I personally use will be linked in the description below. Alright, so when it comes to the appearance and the build quality, as you can see, the faceplate has their dragon wing inspired design, which I think honestly looks pretty cool. Now, as for the build quality, it is all resin everywhere, no metal involved here at all. Now, the resin does feel very high quality and none of it actually pierces your ear. Quite ergonomic even for my tiny ears. I had no issues with long listening sessions, there was no ear fatigue, so pretty okay in that department. However, two things that I noticed. One is that this houses just a single dynamic driver, and for that, the size of the Wyvern Black is rather a bit too big. This does stick out from your ear and it's not uncomfortable, but for a single dynamic driver, this is a bit too large, I would say. And my second point is about this wire. So while it connects very smoothly here, but it's so easy to detach. It comes off with minimal effort. So, I mean, a slight tug and they're out. Usually they have a bit more of a secure fit, a bit more tight. So that's something I'm a bit worried about if you're out and about on the road. If there is a slight tug for whatever reason, these are going to fall out. Apart from that, in terms of the build and the appearance, I think the Wyvern Black definitely delivers. Okay, now let's talk about the main criteria, which is the audio quality. Now, as you know, sound is majorly made up of 3 frequencies: the highs, the mids, and the lows. The highs or the treble response where the really sharp sounding instruments are, the mids where the vocals are, and the low end or the bass response. Alright, starting off with the highs or the treble response. Now the highs, while packing an impressive amount of detail and clarity, it's well controlled with smooth roll-off. The treble extension is decent and not overdone, so there was no audible sibilants. However, at maximum volume, anything in the ultra-high frequency can get really piercing, so a ceiling of 80% volume is your sweet spot. Instruments in the higher frequencies were moderately audible. However, on busy tracks, a bit more spacing between them would have made it sound cleaner. Overall, though not the richest treble response, it still offers a more than acceptable level of detail and sharpness, especially for casual music listeners who like that bit of sparkle in the treble response. Next up, we have the mid frequencies where the vocals are. Now the vocals are quite bright and forward, with the upper mids getting the most emphasis. Now this can be a hit or miss, as male vocals tend to sound shouty and unpleasant at peak volume, but 70 to 80% volume is the sweet spot where it sounds a lot more mellow and closer to neutral. Personally, a bit of warmth of the lower mids was missing, which would have added that natural tonality on the vocals. But again, this is me just nitpicking at this point. Instruments in the mid-range have a lot of clarity, especially stringed instruments, but they're not the richest in terms of details, as the upper mids, while adding that clarity, it takes away the body, which makes it sound a bit hollow. Now, while advanced listeners may notice the flaws right away, but for any casual listener, the clarity and forwardness of the vocals is sure to impress. And finally, we get to the low end or the bass response. Now, the low end is mostly a balanced one. While leaning more towards the mid bass, it sometimes gives you hints of the sub-low rumble, but it wasn't that convincing. The texture of the bass is about average with a good amount of punch, tightness and thump to it thanks to the mid bass. Now, the bass is by no means weak, but it lacks that texture and quality which would have otherwise made tracks sound far more immersive. Again, for casual music listeners, it performs more than decent. Now, as for the soundstage, it is average and honestly not that wide at all. So tracks don't always sound the most immersive, and this definitely wouldn't be well suited for gaming as well. So just to summarize, the Celest Wyvern Black is a good looking pair of in-ear monitors that is mainly suitable for casual music listeners and beginner audiophiles. For those who want an emphasis on vocals, even if a bit too much, this pair definitely delivers that, but at the cost of overshadowing the highs and the low end, especially at peak volume. Then again, for beginners who want a comfortable pair of in-ear monitors that look great and sounds very energetic, you could by all means get yourself the Celest Wyvern Black. It's not going to disappoint. So there you have it, guys. That was my review of the Celest Wyvern Black in-ear monitors. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any other questions regarding this, do let me know in the comment section below. As always, the link to this and many other in-ear monitors and audio accessories will be given in the description, and I would really appreciate if you use those links to make your purchase. It'll never cost you anything extra, but you guys will be helping me run this channel, and I can produce more such high quality and helpful content just for you guys. So thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video, and I'll catch you guys very soon in the next one. Cheers.